also, again, before we start this list, I guess, make sure you guys also know that this list is just my own opinion. My opinion is dumb, stupid, wrong, irrelevant. It doesn't matter what my opinion is, but I would love, again, to know your opinion as well. Also, this listing is for the 2021-22 NBA season. This is a list going into that season. Remember to keep that in your mind. So this isn't me saying, oh, this is this player and at their peaks or at their best or anything like that. Not the entire. It's going into the 2021-2022 NBA season top 10 as of right now. So obviously, in a week into the season, this list could be completely different. Obviously, if all these players were fully healthy on their best possible teams, then sure, this list can also change. But as of right now, this is my top 10. So again, it doesn't matter. Starting off at number 10, number 10. Pretty tough to do. This bottom half of the listing is definitely a lot tougher to sort of organize people than the upper half, which is a little bit more secure of players, but the bottom half is a little wishy-washy. But at number 10 for me, kind of hard, but it's Damian Lillard. I have Damian Lillard at number 10. Last year, Damian Lillard was the third best scorer in the NBA, I guess you could say, at 28.8 points per game. He also shot 40% from 3. He had 4 rebounds, nearly 8 assists as well. Oh, nearly a steal too. That's pretty crazy for Damian Lillard. Had a PER ranking of a 26, which is very, 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 very good. Obviously, we all know about Damian Lillard and that whole fiasco that's going on in Portland and what's going to happen with him. No idea. If Portland goes off on a really bad start, then obviously Portland can really have a very interesting year, obviously, with maybe trading Damian Lillard by the trade deadline if Portland really isn't in the right scenario where Damian is envisioning them to be. So with that being said, I feel like Damian is really going to try to show out, really try his best, because this is probably going to be a do-or-die year for them, and also Damian Lillard himself. So could Lillard be higher? Again, yes, but again, as of right now, before the season starts, there are still a lot of great players in the NBA, and I really need to see how this team is going to be playing, since it is basically just the same team. I think Lillard at 10 is really good. Some people have him higher, some people have him even out of the top 10, but I think 10 is right where he needs to be. Definitely room to go up or down, wherever it happens in the season. If Damian Lillard has some sort of MVP style season again like he did last year, or if Portland falls and Damian Lillard gets traded, it could definitely tilt the scales, I guess you could say. So, number 10, Damian Lillard. Alrighty, so coming in at number 9 is again a list, going into the year and knowing that Kawhi Leonard is going to be hurt for a vast majority, if not the entire year next year. Even if Kawhi comes back at like the last month or two of the NBA season, I still think he's going to be top 10 at least. So at number 9, I have Kawhi Leonard. Now, of course, again, if Kawhi Leonard was fully healthy, if we were just listing the top 10 best players, of course Kawhi would be probably higher up on the listing, but Kawhi having a pretty nasty injury, again, repairing, I think, a torn ACL or something like that, but it looks like he's going to be missing a big chunk of the season, if not the entirety of the season, if the Clippers aren't in a good playoff position. So, with that being said, Kawhi Leonard last year averaged 25 points per game on 40% shooting, which is, God, who would have thought Kawhi would have been doing that stuff. He also averaged 6.5 rebounds, 5 assists, nearly 2 steals a game, half a block, looking pretty good. Has a PER of a 26. Obviously, he gets used a lot in the Clippers offense. He is one of the best players in the NBA when he is fully healthy, and when he is playing games, obviously, he gets rested a lot, but man, even if Kawhi is coming off injury, I still have him in my top 10. Some people don't even have Kawhi in their top 10. I understand that because, again, he could quite possibly miss the entire season, or he might come back from his injury and just not look the same. It might take him a couple weeks before we even see, a nicer Kawhi Leonard, maybe even into next season of Kawhi Leonard's sort of normal return. So, guards. I'm sorry. Also with Reggie Jackson, return of a lot of the other players that are going to have big time years, like Terrence Mann, maybe some of the younger guys in the Clippers who could really step up in this sort of position. Maybe even a player like Luke Kennard, who knows, So I'm very excited. Hopefully Kawhi can come back this year and give the Clippers a nice little run for a late playoff push, or maybe even into the playoffs. But I mean, if the Clippers are, a play-in team, or even out of the playoffs, or maybe even if they have a really bad matchup in the playoffs, Kawhi might just sit it out and take the L and just wait till next season and see what happens after that. But I still think, again, coming back from injury, Kawhi is still top 10. But if he wasn't injured, and this is just a blanket listing of top 10 players, Kawhi would be a lot higher up on the list. I think we can both agree. Then coming in at number 8 is also a player kind of coming off an injury. We sort of saw him at the latter half of the playoff run that they had. Looked pretty okay, but hopefully with this year can have a little bit more of a healthier season. At number 8, with definitely a more lesser role on a very important team, is James Harden. Yes, James Harden at number 8. Now, again, individually, if we're just listing the top 10 players, of course, James Harden could also arguably be higher, but taking into consideration the team he's playing for, the Brooklyn Nets, that is, playing with hopefully a fully healthy team this year, let's hope, with Kyrie, KD, coming back of Paul Millsap, Marcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, seeming like they're going to have a pretty nice and complete team. So obviously we're going to be seeing a lot more of a facilitator role of James Harden, and sure, could James Harden still go out and score 60 points any given night? Obviously, duh, but we're not going to be seeing a lot of that. I don't think we're going to be seeing a lot of that of any of the Brooklyn Nets big three, because again, they are a big three on a really good sort of fuller roster, especially with, coming in with Patty Mills. You get Bruce Brown back, a couple of good players here and there, so not too shabby of a team there. James Harden averaged 25 points per game. Let's see, on 36% shooting, but he obviously chucks up a lot of threes, so that's actually not too shabby. He also averaged 8 rebounds and 11 assists a game. There was a point in time, if you don't remember that, James Harden really found himself in sort of that MVP sort of conversation when it was just him playing on the Nets and pretty much balling out in winning games just by himself without Kevin Durant or Kyrie Irving on the team. So again, when he's by himself, an amazing talent. When he's with the team, still an amazing talent, but doesn't need to overdo himself like he used to do, obviously, in the Houston Rocket days, I guess you could say. But I think in the position where his team is, in the goal in mind of trying to win a title and being healthy during that time in the playoffs and the finals run that they are going to have, not going to be seeing 100%, 90%, maybe even not even 80% of James Harden this year, but still even with 80%-ish, still a top 10 player. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think his injury last year wasn't too serious, so I don't really expect a whole sort of setback from James Harden. Number 8, James Harden. Coming in at number 7 is also sort of a situational type of player and team, but even with the sort of chaos that's going on with this team, I still think that the Philadelphia 76ers and Joel Embiid will still somehow finally get the job done with this whole Ben Simmons situation that's going on, but maybe without having I hope it doesn't really sort of hurt the play of Joel Embiid. So at number 7 I have Joel, the process, Embiid. Definitely not a bad position. Obviously, if Joel Embiid was fully healthy last year, he probably would have won out and beat Nikola Jokic for the MVP honors, which, in my opinion, he probably could have and should have won if he did stay healthy and play more games, this and that, yada yada yada. But anyways, he was 4th in the league in scoring last year, averaging 28.5 points per game. Let's see, he also averaged nearly 11 rebounds, 3 assists, over a block, actually pretty much a block and a half, over a steal as well. Had a PER ranking of 30. His PER rating was 30, which, again, Lillard, Harden were both even under that. Even Kawhi Leonard were under that. So he obviously gets utilized a lot and plays up to that sort of potential, I guess you could say. So it's good that Joel Embiid is going to be a monster next year. But again, with this whole Ben Simmons thing going on, I don't really know how that team is going to play differently now that everything is sort of blown up in their faces with Ben Simmons. So maybe they trade Ben Simmons, and that trade, it doesn't really help Joel Embiid in his sort of role of needing a facilitator, needing someone to get the ball in his hands I'm still expecting a big year for Joel Embiid, but maybe with this whole Ben Simmons thing, maybe gonna knock him down from the top 5 or something like that. I don't know, but I think this is a good little middle spot for him to sort of flip-flop around in these sort of next few spots. Right, so coming in at player number 6. You know, I really don't want to take a team into much of a consideration, but I am taking into consideration how the team will help improve the player. I think having a good team around a great player makes the great player look even better. So we obviously have seen that before in players in the past, and we all see that in players nowadays. This team that this player is on didn't get any better at all, and we were all hoping and praying for it, so that's maybe why I'm sort of hurting him a little bit, but still an amazing player. At number 6, I have Luka Doncic, and again, not taking the team sort of aspect into this into too much of a consideration, but again, it's not like Dallas or Luka is going to get any better. Sure, maybe Luka could shoot the ball more, definitely he could improve on defense, but I don't really see Luka Doncic being any better than he played last year. Luka Doncic last year averaged 28 points per game. He only shot at 35% from 3, so again, if he knocked that up a couple extra points, that would be pretty cool. Again, defensively for sure as well. He also averaged 8 rebounds, nearly 9 assists, over a steal a game, half a block, PER ranking of a 25. Everything is really good for Luka. It's just that obviously if Luka Doncic was on, you know, a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed, even he would probably be a MVP consideration. But obviously if Dallas sucks, which obviously again they did get a new head coach, that was really all they really did. They still have Kristaps Porzingis, they kept Demar Jr. It's still the same team. So how is that really going to improve Luka or anywhere else on his status? I have no idea. This is the best we've seen Luka. I think, you know, what he did in the Olympics was absolutely amazing. What he did with that, no offense to the other guys on that team, that bad team, you know, a bunch of nobodies, no offense, taking them all the way to a medal game is pretty impressive. So with that in my mind and everything else, of course, Luka Doncic by himself is an amazing talent. He's gonna go down as probably one of the greatest players in NBA history. Like, he's on that path, that trajectory. But again, if he is just on another 6-5 seeded team with the same teammates still averaging 28 points per game, I don't want to say maybe we've already seen the best of Luka Doncic. Maybe we have. I don't know. Again, defensively can of course improve. You know, the 3-point shooting can improve, but have we seen the peak of Luka already? I have no idea, but still an amazing player. Hopefully Dallas can do something this year, really help him in that sort of MVP conversation. Maybe Jason Kidd can sort of kick this team in the butt and sort of help them get over that hump. Fingers crossed for Luka Doncic. Now, going into the top 5 players in the NBA, five players, is where we really start getting into, you know, an interesting conversation. And for me personally, I would feel so weird and like disrespected if this player wasn't even in the top 5. If they are on a really good team and also was the reigning MVP. So at number 5, I have Nikola Jokic, and again, you can definitely argue Luka over Nikola Jokic, but again, Jokic was last year's MVP. This list is for, you know, the upcoming NBA season. The Nuggets are still going to be a really good threat in the West. I mean, when Jamal Murray comes back with Michael Porter Jr. on that big whole new extended contract of like $200 million, hopefully he can have a really good breakout season again like he did last year. Denver's going to be really good. Jokic is the reigning MVP. It's going to be a good sort of match made in heaven, I guess you could say. Nikola Jokic averaged last year, let's see, 26 points per game. He also shot nearly 40% from 3, which is just crazy for a big man center. He also averaged 11 rebounds, 8 assists, which again, Nikola Jokic is undoubtedly the best passing big man in NBA history. We do love Sabonis, you know, the Portland Trailblazers Sabonis back in the 80s, 90s. He was a really good passer. Jokic is head and shoulders above him. He also averaged over a steal a game, nearly a block a game, PER rating of nearly 32. Wow. And again, kind of like the argument you can argue against him is that he's just going to be on a better team. He's going to look a lot better, play a lot better because his teammates are a lot better. Individually, you could super excited to see this, newly revitalized but still sort of classic look of the Golden State Warriors with Steph, Clay, Draymond, having now with Andrew Wiggins and Wiseman, and you have Andre Iguodala back off the bench, and you have Kuminga, Moses Moody. How are they going to play in this rotation? It's going to be really fun to see, but Steph by himself doesn't need to be, God 2016 MVP Steph Curry anymore. He can just be, Steph Curry playing for a title. And I think with that being said, doesn't need to go too over the top crazy. So I think 4 is a good spot for him. Then we have, yes, the player at number 3 and the top 3, maybe even the top 4, obviously with Steph Curry arguably having the talent to be number 1. I think obviously, Steph does. This next player has the talent to be number 1. But again, it's all about situation, the team, how the season is going to go for them, at least for me at the start of the NBA season, how I think it's going to go. At number 3, I have Giannis Antetokounmpo at number 3, and again, being the reigning NBA champion, the reigning Finals MVP, the top dog, being number 3, it's kind of hard to say that. Last year he averaged 28 points per game. He also averaged 11 rebounds, 6 assists, over a block, over a steal, a PER ranking of 829. Wow, that's crazy. And we all obviously saw him play in the NBA Finals, putting up crazy numbers, like Shaquille O'Neal, prime Lakers Shaq type of numbers. And that still being only number 3 is because, again, I think Giannis has learned that for the Bucks to be title winners, he does have to do a lot, but the team around him also has to do a lot. So kind of the same sort of, argument what Steph Curry has is that he doesn't need to be, back-to-back MVP, Defensive Player of the Year winner, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He just needs to get them in a good spot for the playoff run and then take over like we saw in last year's playoff and NBA Finals run. So he's obviously going to have a very good year. He's probably going to be, again, in an MVP, Defensive Player of the Year candidacy. I think that's how you say that word. But I think, again, no 3-point shot. It's kind of sus. And, the next 2 guys just do so much stuff and are just very much unstoppable, just like he is, but just maybe just on a greater level, I guess you could say. But Giannis at 3, I don't think it's that crazy. Giannis is an amazing player, definitely has, again, number 1 talent, but again, I don't think he really needs to be that, because again, he knows what it takes to have a championship run now. So I think now, with that being said, I think Giannis might not be, the crazy sort of MVP Giannis that we've seen before, even having, put up 50-point games in the NBA Finals. So then that leaves only 2. And if you know NBA, if you know the NBA, if you know who's left off the list, it's LeBron and Kevin Durant. And what order you put these guys in is very interesting. I mean, of course, you could put even LeBron, lower on the list. Kevin Durant in his, injuries and sitting us all the time, you could definitely sit him down a couple spots on the list as well. That makes a lot of sense. But in my opinion, and again, I keep saying this for a lot of these players, it's very situational. But in the situation that's in my head, LeBron is really gonna let Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook try to win this season for him. And I'm not saying that as if LeBron is going to take a big backseat, but we're not going to be seeing crazy LeBron anymore. I think he knows now. Obviously, last year going into the playoffs with a pretty nasty injury alongside with Anthony Davis, you can't carry this team and win it by yourself like you used to do. I think LeBron is going to take not a pretty big step back, but definitely a step back from, last year LeBron. Obviously putting up some crazy numbers, averaging, LeBron averaging 25 points per game. He also averaged 8 rebounds, 8 assists, still looking really good, over a steal a game, half a block, PR ranking of 24, which is okay for LeBron. But now having, triple-double Russell Westbrook against, I guess the soon-to-be NBA champion at that time, Milwaukee Bucks squad, still looked like a pretty unstoppable beast, that's for sure. Last season he averaged 27 points per game on 45% shooting from three, which is insane. 90% from the line. He also averaged 7 rebounds, 6 assists, about a block a game, a steal a game, a PR ranking of 26. Was he resting a lot of the year? Yes, he was. Was he, did he still, didn't even make it to the conference finals? No, he didn't. But again, I still think Kevin Durant, as of right now, is probably in the best situation. Also, with the skill, it's a match made in heaven. I think Kevin Durant right now is probably ranked number 1 in a top 10. So, now, again, if it was just based off of the top 10 basketball players, like this is just boom, the top 10, you could definitely argue, LeBron, Giannis, even Steph Curry as number 1. That's not too crazy to think about, but again, when I'm thinking about a list going into the year of 2021, 2022, I think you have to take into a lot of other sort of situations, like again with Joel Embiid and the Sixers, Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers, so individually, they're great. But I think in this list, it's a little bit more fair to think of that way. So, at number 1, I have Kevin Durant. Number 2, LeBron James. 3, I have Giannis. 4, Steph Curry. 5, I have Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP. 6, Luka Doncic. 7, I have Embiid. 8, I have Harden. 9, I have an injured Kawhi Leonard. And 10, I have Lillard. Now again, we haven't seen Anthony Davis since he's had, that really pretty weird injury, and definitely had just a weird entire year for Anthony Davis. Only averaged about 21 points per game. Still was pretty okay on defense, but definitely not the 2020 Finals Anthony Davis. That was, could have won Finals MVP that year, honestly. He could definitely sneak his way in if he is a little bit healthier, you know what I mean? You could look up for like a breakout year for like Jason Tatum or even Zion Williamson, who's going to have, some big things to carry on both their shoulders, obviously, being the go-to guys and being sort of the next young faces of the NBA. They could even sneak their ways into the top 10, I don't know, but I think this top 10 is pretty set in stone. The only thing you could really argue is really Kawhi and his injury health. You could have him, higher up on the list if you just want to do it as if he is fully healthy. You can take him completely off the list if he doesn't play the entire season.